Ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum. Joel Felsenstein, you are the man. You are the man. I cannot tell you. I say this every time we go live, so people are, I don't know how they could be surprised that I still say this, but I get so many compliments about that intro outro video. And I want to thank you, Joel, for helping us out. You're not only a consistent sponsor of the show, but you were a sponsor for our Feed for Good that we had. That was fantastic. You have been a great partner and strategic alliance buddy of ours. You've been a friend, and I appreciate having all the conversations. So thank you so much. Our sponsors for tonight. Oh my goodness, Circle of Friends Club, Jason Wilson. If you don't know what he's doing with the Freedom Fight Expo and everything within Circle of Friends Club, you need to check it out because it is a wellness center for everyone. The last event he did was about PTSD. He's got another event coming up, and I'm not going to spoil it because he'll be on the show. We'll talk about it. But I'm so excited for him to be here. If you're going, who is this guy talking to me? I know. I went, this is what happens when you try to trim your beard yourself. And, you know, one side's not even. And the next thing you know, it's like, okay, we're just starting over. So I don't know what to say other than I'm just going to let it grow out. No, I'm just never going to show it. I'm never going to shave it ever. So getting back to our sponsors, the gifted bipolar writer, Nicole and Jai Galindo. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your recent anthology that's coming out. It's coming out in a couple months, actually, and cannot wait. Everything else you've done has been an international bestseller. I know you're already talking about the next thing that you're doing, but thank you so much for being a sponsor for tonight's show, being a consistent sponsor of what we do, and for you and Island Elevator being sponsors for Feed for Good. We really appreciate that. The career BFF, Anna Morgan. She is one of my favorite outliers. She's an incredible human being. She has the most adorable dog. Oh my gosh. Just incredibly cute as a button. So check out what Anna Morgan is doing. She is your career BFF. And boy, let me tell you, in this time, in this day and age, it is a dumpster fire out there, folks. So get all the help you can. Get in touch with Anna Morgan. And then last, but certainly not least, my buddy, Derek Strokhan. Oh my goodness. I could go on for like the entire show talking about him, but he is doing an incredible thing. If you get him to be one of your speakers at an event. He's an international speaker. He does incredible things. And one of the cool things that he's done is he's partnered with us at HR for You. He is going to be speaking to people and doing leadership mentoring. And while he's there, he's going to be getting recipes from the leaders, their childhood recipes. We're creating a cookbook from all of these sessions he has, and he's donating the profits from the cookbook to HR for You's Transformation Kitchen, which is launching in December if you haven't been keeping up. Oh my. We have our first chef mentor, Chef Michael Casanova. We have our first student, Artez Jackson. He goes by Tez. I can't wait to tell you their stories, but I've taken up enough time. It's time to bring out the message fixture in the house. Let's bring him up. Yell it out, people. That's how
Thank you.
This is how we do it here. This is how we do it.
That's how we roll.
This is how we roll.
I want in on that cookbook. That sounds amazing.
Is that not incredible? That's
very cool.
Come on. I love, Derek. So
I do.
You guys are all part of the Iron Tribe, aren't you?
We are, and he's also a fellow Canadian.
Cool.
Yeah. Newsflash. I don't know if anyone do that, but there you go.
I love it. I love it. No, he's such a cool guy. He's got so much going on with cold caps and all the stuff that he's doing. It's just, and on top of that, I started to giggle when I when I saw that he was officiating weddings, I was just like, all right, what don't you do?
I know there's like,
I mean,
what else? There's another layer of something we haven't peeled back here.
I know, but I mean, you are an impact speaker. You have incredible coaching. We're going to dive into your coaching. We're going to dive into your Impact Tribe Lives. I want to hit it all, but first, tell the people in the audience a little bit more about you.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And yes, all of those things. I'm not officiating weddings yet, but that's always something to add to my resume.
You can always start.
Exactly. So the inception of my business goes back to this recognition that when my clients, they're entrepreneurs, they're business leaders, and they know, and we all know, that ideas are the lifeblood of any business. And we all have ideas. We all have ideas popping into our head all the time. The challenge is, how do you communicate that idea in such a way that other people recognize the value too? And I first learned this in my previous career. I was a creative director for 15 years, working with Fortune 500 brands. And I was in these meetings and watching brilliant people, colleagues of mine, subject matter experts, and I'd watch them deliver a presentation, share an idea, and then I would watch that idea in front of the whole room just kind of fall dead on the floor and go nowhere.
Oh.
And it killed me because I knew that these were great ideas. And so way back when, that planted a seed with me that there's got to be a better way to do this. There's got to be a way to empower people who have great ideas that they want to be shared, to do it in a way that's effective. And so essentially that led me, well, this is 11 years now, but that is what started my business. And I developed the impact speaking method specifically to, as I said, and I still say, to help business leaders present like Steve Jobs. And we do one-on-one coaching, I do group workshops, and my number one goal is to really help people do 3 critical things whenever they communicate in any platform. Number 1, attract attention. Number 2, attract resources. And number 3, attract allies. So they can help take that idea and actually turn it into something so they can have great results and a great impact, a big impact. And bringing back full circle to your comment about impact, because that's ultimately what it's all about. How can I help you have more impact, do more good, have more positivity in the world? So there you go.
I love that. That was very concise.
Thank you.
We were talking off stage about that pitch, and I'm like, you've got it down. Like, let's just go. Let's go.
Thank you.
I'm sure you could have even shortened it, like if you were really under the.
Well, I figured we had a little bit of time. I wanted to sort of, as a, it's like, okay, as opposed to this, I'm like, okay.
This isn't for funding. You're like, it's like, hey.
Yeah, so I'm not on the clock just yet, so.
So I'm going to keep showing your different links that you have.
Oh, thank you.
I would love for you to talk more about your one-on-one coaching and kind of how you approach, because I know when we have all of these talented people, there's 100 partners in 6 different countries that we have as a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. And we even, our board president is a marketing guru who's done all kinds of work. But we had to go outside when we were looking at some branding ourselves. It was critical for us to take a look at, okay, we need help. If we want to grow and we want to start getting grants, and we need to, as you say, fix our message, and have an impact, we've got to do a better job of telling that. So talk about your one-on-one coaching and kind of how you approach getting the information out of somebody to know where to go. Like, where do you start?
Certainly. So, I mean, the first thing to understand, and the way I always think about any communication, whether you're on stage, you're on video, you're in a meeting, is there is a performance aspect to it. And so it's really about how do you bring together a whole variety of different things at that critical moment. And it requires planning, it requires time. And so whenever I'm looking to work with someone one-on-one, it's usually a minimum of a month, sometimes 2 months. And what we do is it's broken up over those 4 to 8 weeks. That first week is really that critical piece where it's sort of the evaluation, the intake, really understanding kind of where you at, who's the audience you're speaking to, what are your goals for this particular presentation, conversation, and really kind of getting that planning really clear. Because that's where a lot of communication falls apart, is that people don't really have clarity on who they're talking to, what's going on in the mind of that person and the situation they're in. Oftentimes it becomes about me. I have the information, I want to share it, here's my goal. Whereas you want to be obviously very aware of where are they coming from. And so that first week, week and a half is all about getting clear on that. And so that's a series. We'll do a 90-minute kickoff call. I have a whole series of questions we'll go through, and it becomes a very kind of in-depth conversation. I want to really understand what's going on with your business, what are you trying to do, etc. And then from there, and that's that first phase is called plan. Not too surprising. It's really, there's 3 phases. So I'll let you in on the 3 phases, which is plan, prepare, present. Okay, the 3 Ps. So there you go. And so that first week, week and a half is really critical. And then we move into that preparation phase. And each week we're doing usually an hour-long call at a minimum. There's probably some emails being sent back and forth. And it's, really gathering and clear on that information. As we move into week 2, week 3, and that preparation, this is now where we're really kind of delineating what's the overall outline for your talk, your presentation, etc. What are the kind of key points that someone's going to take away from this? There's a variety of exercises we'll do in there, one of which is called resistance mapping. So this is something that, I'm actually doing, we can talk about this in a minute. I'm doing a workshop in a couple of weeks to talk about resistance and how to overcome resistance to new ideas. But we do this exercise called resistance mapping, where you're essentially identifying ahead of time what are the potential things that whoever's listening to this, it could be an audience, it could be a client, might be resistant to. And it's not necessarily that they're like, they hate us, we're going to push back, but it's really just like things that might get in the way of them adopting this idea, adopting my perspective, wanting to close the deal, whatever it is. And so we get clear on that. And what we do then is build the counterpoint to that resistance into the presentation. So you're already, as you're moving through your communication, you're addressing some critical resistance points before they're even raised. So it might be someone's thinking about it and you just addressed it. And so we're clearing the way to, the end where there might be an ask or a next step. And so we'll go through that. And if there's a deck, that'll also be where we start to really evaluate that, the visuals. I'm a big one for the deck should be there to support you, not to be there as a crutch. So key thing, we don't want too many things, crap on the slides to distract, because you're the subject matter expert. I want the focus to be on you. And then that third phase, we've done all that. We've gotten really clear. We know who our audience is, etc. That's present. And so this is really that performance piece. And so we will essentially go through a variety of exercises to help with stage fright, to help with stage presence. And when I say stage, could be video, could be in a meeting, could be on an actual stage. But the goal is to really start to take all that we've done and internalize that, get you really comfortable with it. Oftentimes there will be stories that we've developed as well. Maybe there's an opening hook or a customer story or a founder story that's worked in there. And so we'll get really clear on that so it's authentic and comfortable when you're communicating it. We'll do some different rehearsals, we'll shoot videos and go back and forth. But my goal at the end of the day is I want you to be able to get up on whatever that stage is and just absolutely deliver value, be enthusiastic, be confident, be perceived and seen as an authority so that you can, as I said earlier, get a good result and have whatever that real big impact is that you want to have. And so that's the basics of it. Plan, prepare, present, whole bunch of stuff in between. But the goal is you're going to walk out there and just deliver it and be confident and engaging and build trust and knock it out of the park. And the nice thing is that that's a skill that you will have now for the rest of your career. Okay, when you start to learn that, and it's like anything, you got to kind of learn it, demystify it, repeat, and you kind of, that's that flexing that muscle and starting to get that muscle memory, and that's how it works. So all these people you see out there that are delivering incredible presentations, all the time. They've been working at it, so takes time, takes work. We'll all get there. That's the thing. We all can get there. We all have this ability. So there you go.
I love that. And one of the things that I happened to be part of the Outlier Project, and I was listening to, which several of the people in the Iron Tribe are all part of, but I was listening to someone who frequently is on Good Morning America. And they were talking about their journey and how oh my, they were sick to their stomach and how this happened. But then, they'd start recording themselves, and they even got in with other people and rented a stage, and they all split the cost of it. And they all had a certain amount of time to do presentations and to film it and then watch it back and then study themselves and their mannerisms. Cause you don't realize, what you do when you're presenting. I talk a lot with my hands. So I know that I'm flopping these guys around and stuff. And if I were ever to be serious about, okay, I wanted to be on the speaking realm, then there are things that I would need to look at and that I would need to pay attention to. All the times that you say, and, those things like that, but being clear and concise in what you're saying, looking at the camera. And I'm laughing because my wife is in the audience. She knows from we're on season 5 of our podcast. But when I did the very first podcast, one of the things my wife used to tell me is you've got ADHD and ADD and all, and you're talking over here and looking over there and waving your hands, and it was like, Chasen, you're gonna need to so I started watching them and watching myself, and I'm going, oh wow, I didn't even know I did that. So let's move to what the difference is then when you're doing a group session, when you're you're going in. And I noticed from your website, people, if you haven't been to his website, I'm showing his LinkedIn, his IG, and his website. And I keep showing, here's his website. Go to it, check it out. And you'll notice at the bottom, this list of this enormous, incredible companies that he has worked for and worked with. Look, so when you go in to do a group presentation, how do you work that?
Well, so obviously every group is a little bit different kind of need that they have, but they usually fall into some key categories. One of which obviously is that the actual presentation, kind of the stage jitters and those sorts of things. But then there's also that big piece that falls in the preparation sort of phase, which is how to create the content. And a lot of times I'm working on storytelling and what that looks like. What are some frameworks that they can use? How do you approach that? How do you start to create your own stories? And then there's a variety of other aspects of it, but that's usually where a lot of it lies, is how do we find our stories? How do we craft the story? How do we get comfortable sharing that story? We work with a lot of nonprofits, and so obviously there's a lot of heartfelt kind of leadership, and how do we share that? And so it's not that people have a lack of stories or an inability to share the story. It's just, as you sort of said, those first few podcasts you did, there was that, kind of you're all over the place. And it's a byproduct of our survival instinct as human beings. That it's the same thing that when you see a tiger or a big threat to your life, everything narrows down because your body is saying, you are about to die. So I'm going to just concentrate all of your energy for survival. Well, that's great. That's the reason we're all here, because people figured out how to survive. The problem is that in our modern world, the body responds the same way when you get on stage or get on a podcast or stand up, raise your hand and stand up at a meeting. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, and you get the sweaty palms and the flushed and the butterflies, and your mouth gets dry and all those things. And so that's where the real value of preparation, getting really clear. And so to answer your question, I mean, when it comes to groups, oftentimes we'll do a lot of that info up front, the education component, How do you build a story? How do you identify a story? And then there's often, and I love to build this in because it's really important, is that phase of, okay, we've had a few minutes, we've put together some rough stories, you've got a rough pitch or whatever it is. Let's get up, let's do it. And there's always that like, but
sure.
we're in a safe space. I always try to create an environment that's very conducive to sharing and trust. I like to keep the groups relatively small, especially in person, so that we can have that. And you realize after you watch the first couple people that, hey, we're all going to struggle. We've all got moments of uncertainty and that kind of deer in the headlights. And so everyone's there to help. And it's amazing how that transformation can happen in literally a few minutes. You can watch someone that like half an hour earlier, they were like doing a 10-minute rambling, I'm not sure where to go with it, blah, 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 all over the place. And half an hour later, it's now down to 2 minutes and it's very succinct. And yeah, there's going to be little bumps and things like that, but that's what the process is. And that's how you start to learn. And by the 5th time, it's much smoother. By the 10th time, it's way smoother. And the wonderful thing is that when you've internalized whether it's a pitch or talking about your company story or your nonprofit, it is slightly different every time you share it. And that's where that authenticity comes through, because everybody can tell if you're reading from a script or you're kind of just pitching. Or as Lindsay Dowd introduced me to the term pitch slapping, which I love. Everyone feels it. And so you want to be authentic in the way you deliver it. So there you go. So that's kind of a typical workshop.
Love Lindsay. Jody and I got to meet her in person in Boston. Such an incredible human being.
Definitely.
So I love her to death. So I'm glad that you mentioned her. And I know that she was recently on your show. And
she was.
Oh man, she's just so incredible. So
she is just, I had Ricky Passanelli on my show and I said she is rocket fuel. And, I feel like Lindsay is probably the fire that lights that, because I know the two of them are kind of thick as thieves. And so I really appreciate that energy and just that joy in supporting others and helping empower each individual. And I think that's what helps us move forward and create great community. So
Absolutely. So talk about that. Let's talk about your show, Impact Tribe Lives.
That's right.
If you don't know, people, if you weren't looking at any of our social media, we are going to be together on his show October 31st.
The Halloween special.
I don't know exactly what I'm going to wear. I do know that my beard will be at least partially grown out by then. So you won't see babyface Jason, there anymore. But I'm not sure what I'm going to wear. But we will both be in costume. So.
Yes. And I've been pondering it as well. In fact, who did I had the conversation actually with Lindsay. We were talking about costumes with glasses. Nice. And she was just, what about this? And what about that? What about this?
What about that? Yeah.
And then I realized, I said, well, I suppose I could take them off. I can still see well enough to engage. I just better not be driving a car or driving at night or any of those things.
I can't press any buttons. I'd be like,
oh, that's true. As long as I can find the mouse. As long as I can find the mouse, I'm okay.
Can't do it. Scary costume. No, it won't be a scary costume. It might be. It might be something weird, but it's not going to be scary. That's for sure. What
about dark humor?
I'm not a horror fan. I'm not a horror movie, not a horror book. No. So yeah, it will be something more on the funny side.
All right. So there you go. Sneak peek, tune in. It's going to be great. We're going to learn all about Chasen, and we're going to learn all about, we're going to see the costume, and it'll be interesting in that regard, because if you're meeting him for the first time, there'll be that juxtaposition with the costume and the real stories and the person. If you know him well, maybe the costume will throw you off. I don't know.
That might. It might.
It might.
So talk about your show. Talk about when did you start this and why, and what do you love about it? What do you love about doing the show?
Certainly. So truth be told, this show actually started during the pandemic. It was 2020 was sort of the beginning of it. And the problem is that I, as a designer by trade and a creative person, there's a bit of a perfectionist element to the way I've often approached things. I'm getting much better about just accepting progress as the goal rather than perfection. But at the time, I made it more complicated than I needed to. This is all I'm like seeding the path for the fact that like I fell into the trap of the podcast fade. And so I did 7 episodes. They were of various lengths, they were various quality, they were kind of all over the place. But needless to say, it stopped. And I loved it because engaging and having conversations. For some of you that know me, you know about this, but I do 20-minute connection calls. I'll try to do 3 to 5 or 7 a week. And these are 100% about connecting. It's just about meeting new people, learning about them, seeing how we can support each other, because that is sort of my rocket fuel is meeting new people and learning what they're up to. And so with that in mind, I sort of relaunched the show as a live stream, first of all, to make it easier. But also I tried to get out of my own way in terms of, this is just a conversation. This doesn't have to have sort of an angle to it and a strategy and an agenda and all these other things. And I credit my wife, who is this voice of reason always, because I was in this dilemma, and she said, just find your joy. Don't worry about how it fits. Just do it. So that's a lot of the backstory there. But the reason was just I kept meeting all these incredible people through LinkedIn primarily, but in general, who were doing really interesting things, whether it was through the nonprofit space or education or in technology. And I wanted to shine a light on these individuals because I think we all know now more than ever that the media sort of world that we live in is very driven by kind of scarcity and fear, and it's a little overwhelming. But what I was seeing was people that were doing amazing things, that were helping people and solving problems, and they were being positive and they were bringing value. And I wanted to showcase that. And when I thought about those people, I was like, well, they're having an impact. My whole thing about my business and empowering people to communicate better is so that they can have more impact. And so the Impact Tribe seemed like it was a given. It had to be the Impact Tribe. And the fact that we're streaming live, Impact Tribe Live. So there you go, demystified. Demystified. But it's a half-hour show every other Thursday, and I've had Lindsay on, I've had Ricky, I've had a bunch of people that Dave One was on, and it's just people that I have a good vibe, I feel something good about them, they're doing wonderful things in the community and helping others, and I wanted to share it. And so the way I always open it is the Impact Tribe Live is where we meet, greet, and learn about people that are having a positive impact on the world. And beyond that, I don't try to overthink it too much. So
love that.
There you go.
We started with our seasons we have 2 seasons a year, and there's a break in between, and it was 8 episodes. So we'd have 16 episodes a year, and there's this huge break, and like people would forget about the first show. Then we added 2 other shows that were live. Yeah. And it's now morphed into this thing. So, but I agree. Like, just get out of your own way. Like, when people ask me about the shows, I say that we have 3 shows. We've got a lot of eyes on what we're doing, and we have a monetized YouTube channel. We just get out of our own way. We just, we're learning as we go. We do the things. It's messy at first, but we have a lot of fun. We have great conversations with people like you, and we're like, hey, you know what? We're just gonna talk. We're just gonna have a conversation.
Yeah, it's and I think that for me, every show evolves in some way, whether it's the production value, the questions I'm asking. And if I tried to figure all that out ahead of time, I would still not have a show. And so I encourage anyone out there listening and watching this, if you want to share your message, you want to invite other people to a platform to talk, figure out the simplest way to do it and hit go live, because If you overthink it, you will never do it. And progress is better than perfection. So
Love
there
that.
you go. From someone who's had podcast fade, had all that fear and anxiety and not done it, and then just decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. And it's been,
Do it.
I might just say, it's been wonderful, the response to, I've had people just, yes, I want to be on the show. Count me in. And I'm booked out until, I think I'm booked out until March of next year.
That's fantastic.
And more to come. And it's great. And I mean, I'll tell you this, you got to reach out sometimes. You got to reach up, as they say. And so I was out for breakfast with my son a couple weeks ago, and I can't remember how it came up, but we were talking about the election and Tim Walz and Harris and everything. And he said, well, why don't you just reach out to Tim Walz? I was like, what? And so we were literally sitting in this Greasy Spoon restaurant having breakfast. I got the camera out. I went to his Instagram and I sent him a message, and I was just like, I'm never going to hear from him, but you never know. And so I encourage anyone out there, if you want people on the show, just go for it. There's never going to be a right time. You're never going to be big enough to decide like, well, this is the right person. So There you go.
Yeah.
I've yet to hear back from Tim's team, but I remain hopeful.
You never can tell. You never can tell. Lindsay said to me, reach out to all these chefs. But when we were doing the Feed for Good, I reached out to so many chefs in the New York area, and we ended up getting one chef right here in my hometown that actually ended up being our first chef mentor and was on Chopped. And I'm just like, there you go.
Yeah.
And we got a couple other chefs that were in Connecticut that are doing some amazing things. So yeah, you never know you never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
I'm a big
I was
fan
going to
of
say, you're a hockey fan, right? Did we have this
I used to play hockey.
Okay, so did I. I mean, Canadian. I think it's it's required. It's in order to get your passport, you got to play hockey. But I think it was Wayne Gretzky. It's probably been attributed to others, but Wayne Gretzky was the one that famously said, "I miss 100% of the shots I don't take."
Yep.
And there's a lot of wisdom in that, because you reached out to dozens or more chefs, and you're like, you know what, 99% didn't respond, didn't sign up, but I got one. And that person, there you go. You got 3, and that led to more, and that led to more. And that's the thing, because this is a separate topic now, but we tend to have in our culture this fixation on what we might call a failure. It's like, I did the 9 things perfectly and it was great, and then that 10th one I screwed up a little bit, and that's where everyone pounces. And so let's not fixate. Let's not fixate on that.
I love the idea, and I heard I preach this and try to do this myself, and my wife can attest to, I have crazy aspirations and dreams. Some people just go like, why are you shooting so high? And I'm just like, why not?
Why not? Exactly.
I have this, Kofi, who's a publisher, and I've got like all of his books.
Mm-hmm.
He says, what if? Like, he lives this life of what if it works? What if it happens? What if? And I love that. And I think that really does tie into your message fixing, because when you're talking to people and you're getting them to do the things to get out of their own way, you're talking about what if. What if you could do these things and take these steps, and then you are intentional? You're going to notice all of a sudden, hey, I don't have the stage fright I used to have. Now I'm not saying the things I used to say. Now I'm not like Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands all over the place. It's like, but this is going to come through intentionality and working with someone that can help them. So
absolutely.
If you don't know, I've been doing this all throughout the show. Here is his website. Again, you need to get with this gentleman right over here. There. Yes. Ashley Bright is in the house. We've had the pleasure of talking to Ashley and about what he does. He is the message fixer. He is an incredible guy. I love the glasses. That was like when we first started talking, I'm like, man, these are the greatest glasses in the world. The fact that you can pull these off and that you are like just the coolest dude. Absolutely. Love it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So thank you for joining the show. Thank you for telling us about what you do. Thank you about talking about your plans and how it works. And I hope you get a ton of people to come to your website and check you out. Guys in the audience, we're going to give it up one more time for Ashley Bright in the house.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Whoa, that
was like a delay. It was a slow rise.
Yeah, they were a little slow to get on that. But
exactly.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. And thank you for taking the time to tell us all about you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, Jason. I appreciate the opportunity, and I love your energy and what you're doing for the community and how you're bringing people together. And I am looking forward to you and your costume in a few weeks.
There we go. There we go. We'll catch you next time on our People Community event. My name is Chasen Forehand, and HR for You is all about bringing people out to the audience to tell you about what they're doing. That is our People Community event. So join us next time. Check out our YouTube channel for shows that you might have missed. And if you missed part of this show, go see that. And check out Ashley's website, his LinkedIn, his IG. We'll put all of his links are in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. We'll catch you next time.